Sunday Surefire podcast. I'm your host, the commish. Joining me is the co-host, Aaron Downtown Brown.
Hey, hey,
Aaron, what's going on, my man?
hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for this Thursday night matchup and getting back on track and into the DFS world. What about you, Kamish?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's we're in season now, so it's crazy how fast these games sneak up on us. It feels like just yesterday a Sunday slate ended. The Monday night games have two of them last week came and gone, and then now we're already back to Thursday night football. It's crazy how fast the season goes, but we have an NFC East divisional matchup here in this one. We got Cowboys at Giants. Dallas is currently a 5.5 point favorite in this one, and the over under is sitting at 45 points. So we like to talk, what we like to do here is we talk about the game, we talk about how it's going to go, and then we get into our DraftKings DFS captains lineups where we talk about these 6 player lineups that you have a salary cap to work with. You got to fit all these players into your lineup. And there's also the only really thing that's different here is the captain slot where you can elect a captain for the game. They cost 1.5 times their normal rate to get them into your lineup, but they score 1.5 times as many points. So got to be careful who you put in there. If you do an expensive guy, you're getting cheap later, and vice versa. If you do a cheap guy in your captain slot, then you can open up more possibilities down the board, getting more high profile pieces into your lineup. So let's touch on the game here quickly, Aaron, to see what we think about that. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, this is it's kind of a little interesting, just looking at the spread. They are favoring the Cowboys this week, being the away team, just by 4.5 points. It's going to be at Giants. Over under is 44, so not too high of a over under. I guess my initial thoughts, with the money line being just 205 on the Cowboys, I'm pretty high on the Cowboys having a big bounce back week against the Giants, and I think it could get ugly. I think you've seen, there's a lot of attention on it just in Dallas, just in general. So when they lose on in embarrassing games and whatnot, I think they do have that ability to kind of turn on the Jets and do the opposite to teams the week after. So I'm actually pretty high on the Cowboys, and I think definitely take the 4.5 points this week is the direction I'm leaning on.
I'm right there with you. I have the Cowboys winning big on this one. Just coming, they are actually coming off back-to-back losses in their home building, so maybe just getting out on the road will be a good thing for them. Get away from all the craziness down there in Dallas, and this actually might be the best spot for them to go because one, we don't think very much of the Giants. I mean, someone had to win that Cleveland Giants game last weekend. So they came up on the right end of the stick on that one, but I mean, if you look at where Dallas's recent track record at MetLife Stadium, they actually won 6 of the last 7 meetings at MetLife against the Giants. So I think the trend's going to continue in this one. I see Dallas coming on top by at least a touchdown in this one, possibly even more. But I would just lay the 4.5, 5.5 points, whatever it is, on the Cowboys in this one. Over under is a little trickier for me here because I think I see Dallas defense kind of keeping Daniel Jones in check, sort of like they kept the Browns in check in week one when they played at Cleveland. I think might be similar to that. So if the Giants aren't keeping up on the scoreboard, maybe they only score like 10 points. I could see the 45 being a little bit of a stretch to get there. So I'd probably stay away from that. If I'm going to bet it, maybe I'll do a conservative under where I juice it up like whatever, 5, 6 points, and then parlay it with something else too. So that's the right I would go on the betting front. I would definitely hit Dallas on the 4.5 or 5.5, whatever it is. And then I would stick with a conservative under on this one if I was going to bet that. But that's what we think about the game and how it's going to go. Apparently, we both have Cowboys win in this one covering, so that's great. And let's go to our captains here, Aaron. Who are you putting into your DraftKings captains lineups this week?
So I think you might like this one. I'm gonna go back to our old friend strategy, Mr. Captain Carmen, for some of your day one viewers there. An old trick that he liked to do a lot sometimes at the captain is I'm actually gonna go Cowboys defense. That's how much that's how dominant I think
All
Cowboys
right.
may potentially be. So I got Cowboys defense, and I'm really hoping they get a defensive score. obviously if they don't, they can still do decent, but if they get a score, you're in the money, baby. So I'm going Cowboys defense as my captain, and obviously with that you can fit a lot of studs in there when you do that.
Yeah, I imagine doing that enables you to get both starting quarterbacks in there as well as Neighbors and CeeDee Lamb.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you on that. I did not go with the Giants defense, and I just to bring back Captain Carmen here for a second. The previous host prior to myself on the show, I remember the first time he did this on a captain's lineup on a Thursday night. It was the Cardinals. They were playing. I think it was they were playing the Saints a couple years ago, and it was the first time I'd ever heard him say put a defense in your lineup. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. Like he's putting a defense in his captain slot. What's he doing? And that was a game where I think their defense and special teams combined for like 3 touchdowns or something crazy.
Yeah, I think
He
so.
scored like
Yeah.
a million points, and I'm like, that's one of those moments you're sitting back and you're like, what does this guy know
Right.
that I don't? You know,
Right.
uh, that may have been an all time call on this program in the 4 years we've been chopping it up here, talking ball. But yeah, that was a crazy one. I am not going with the defense or a kicker in my lineup this in my captain slot this week. I'm going with a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going Rico Dowdle, $9,600. Um, I did not get both quarterbacks in there, but I was able to get Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb as well as Malik Neighbors into my lineup in doing this. So had to go a little cheaper in the captain slot, but not quite the defense route here, that you went. But I don't hate that at all. But I went with Rico. I know he hasn't exactly blown up yet from a fantasy scoring perspective just yet, but he is getting just slightly less than half of the RB touches. He is out touching Zeke Elliott thus far. Those two are taking on the lion's share of the carries in Dallas so far this year. And I'm just kind of playing into the game script on this one here. I just think it's going to shake out with Dallas being ahead in the second half of this game, which I think bodes well for Dowdle. Running the ball, and he has more receptions this year than Zeke does as well. So if it is more competitive, maybe they use him in that function too. So I went Rico Dowdle, $9,600 to get him into my captain spot.
Yeah, I think that's a good route there. I think with you know, the way we think the game flow's gonna go, I think getting running backs in your lineup definitely makes sense. So I think, the fact that you're saying he does share with Zeke a little bit, but he's getting the kind of the more favorable attempt wise. I think that's a good call. And I think if it's I think what we say a lot is, if we can kind of foresee, how the game flow will go, that's really the trick with these captain lineups because you got to pretty much be spot on, and you can't always just put in your favorite players in these types of games because that's not always just how how the game goes, right? So, I think that's a solid call there with Dowdle.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And so we talk captains. Obviously, there it's the really the top line of your lineup, what you're looking at first before you start filling out the rest of it. But we also talked about one bargain player each that we really cheap out on to get. Sometimes you got to get dirty in these small fields. And I know I did that with mine here, but who did you cheap out on this week?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, going Cowboys defense. I think my lineup is pretty strong, but the cheapest guy I went is a guy that I thought is a first like for sure will score no matter what, in my opinion. So I'm actually going Dallas kicker, Aubrey, which is could potentially be right now the best kicker in the league. He just nailed what, like a 65 yarder this past week too. So if the Giants do happen to score Cowboys, I think they can use Aubrey anyway past midfield pretty much. So I think that you may get a one long boot, but if he gets a few extra points, you got maybe 3 or 4 points plus one field goal. So I mean that's a minimum maybe 7 8 points, which is sometimes if that's your cheapest guy getting 7 to 8 points. I think it can still work out for you. So I went Aubrey as my cheapest play.
There you go. I don't hate it at all. Don't hate it at all. We had both special teams units from Dallas in there. But it kind of makes sense because I mean, there's not a ton of like really studs on either side. It's really just the two quarterbacks and their stud receivers. And you were able to get all of them in there, building your lineup in this manner. So I don't hate that in the slightest. I went a different direction here. The bargain player is Tyrone Tracy, $2,800. So real dirt cheap here with Tracy, but had to do it somewhere. So here's where I chose to cut a corner. If you think about Tracy here, again, going back to the game script, we think the Giants are going to be behind and trailing, which leads to check down opportunities later. Devin Singletary is obviously going to start this game. I know he's capable of fulfilling that role as well, but I think this could be a game script where Tracy gets some extended run in pass catching situations. He actually played 4 years as a wide receiver in college before converting to running back. So he has the skill set to do that type of thing. And with the Giants, like I said, they're going to be behind probably this one, so I think he could get a little bit more of an opportunity than he has in weeks past. And it's $2,800 here, guys. You don't need very much from him to be happy with this call. So I went with the rookie. I went cheap here with Tyrone Tracy for 2,800.
Yeah, I like that. I like that call. I think Tracy will get rotated in. Um, can he get rotated in and score? I mean, potentially, right? But I think as long as he gets maybe some plays out of the backfield, like you said, some third down plays and receptions, I think maybe hitting that 7 to 8 point range is just as doable as well.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a shot in the dark on this one, but I like them coming out, and we're gonna fire them up here on prime time, national TV on Thursday night, and see what we can do here to get to maybe he can provide some value for us. We will see. That's all we got here, folks. Our Thursday episodes are pretty quick here, so if you like what you heard, please hit that subscribe button. It's a big help for us, and make sure you're checking out all of our content here at Sunday Surefire that we got cranking out for you. But until next time, folks, peace.